So, temptation. This is mine. Even though I know I should not have them, these McDonald's French fries, even though I know they are bad for me, even though I know about the quality or lack thereof of fast food, it does not change the fact that I am tempted by them every time I drive by a McDonald's restaurant. Every time. Knowledge about something usually doesn't change the temptation. Now, there are many things that tempt us, all across the gamut. There are those traditionally bad things that tempt us, right? The vices of our lives, those things that can become destructive addictions, or those things that there are laws written about, whether it's alcohol or drugs or gambling or cigarettes or pornography, all those things. There are also things that tempt us that can become bad if we want too much of it, whether it's money, power, control, achievement, or attention. Right? In and of itself, those things aren't bad, but when we want and are tempted to have too much, it can lead to trouble. And sometimes we're tempted by things that are not bad, really, for us, unless we really, really, really overdo it. I've heard that there are some people that are tempted by exercise. Sometimes we're tempted by a healthy lifestyle or by meaningful work. And those can be good temptations, good things we go after. But sometimes even those, if we go too far, we can be in trouble. Because really, temptation is around us every single day. It's part of who we are, our instinct. Can't resist it sometimes. Now, there are many theories of why Jesus was tempted by Satan in the Bible, whether it was to show his humanness, whether it was to be a model for us and how to resist temptation, or a variety of other things. And all of those are true, and all of those are valid. But I also think that by Jesus facing Satan right away, so early in his ministry, it shows us just how huge and large part that temptation is in our daily life. How much of it just bombards us every day, and how we can't escape it. Right away, it's part of Jesus' life, whether it's good, whether it's bad. And as all of us have tried to learn to journey through these, the temptations in our lives, generally it comes down to have in order to have some type of functional lifestyle, we need to be able to balance our temptations and our ability to hold them. We need to be able to navigate life in some type of balanced form. For example, French fries once in a while, well, that's okay. But twice a day, every meal? That's not going to do much for you. A game of poker can be fun when we have the thrill of, losing or winning a few bucks. But if that becomes suddenly altering our life, we have to we can't pay other things or support our family or ourselves, or we lose our paycheck, or we become indebted to somebody else, that becomes a whole nother situation. Temptation is part of our life. And so today I want us to hear and reflect on some words from Psalm 32 to help us come to a better understanding of maybe how to navigate some of these temptations in our lives. Psalm 32, it's in your sheet, that scripture sheet that is in your bulletin. And the words are also going to be on the screen here for us. And we're going to share this together. And as a good way to hear a psalm is to, share it responsively. So we'll have one line that comes up on the screen, and you can start the verse, or I'll start the verse, and it'll be in bold print, and you can say the next part of the verse. So let's share this psalm together. Happy are those whose transgression is forgiven, whose sin is covered. Happy are those whom the Lord rebukes no iniquity, and in whose spirit there is no deceit. While I kept silence, my body wasted away through my groaning all day long. For day and night your hand was heavy upon me. My strength was dried up as by the heat of summer. Then I acknowledged my sin to you, and I did not hide my iniquity. I said, I will confess my transgressions to the Lord, and you forgave the guilt of my sin. Therefore, let all who are faithful offer prayer to you, that in time of distress, the rush of mighty waters shall not reach them. You are a hiding place for me. You preserve me from trouble. You surround me with glad cries of deliverance. Do not be like a horse or a mule without understanding, whose temper must be curbed with a bit and bridle, else it will not stay near you. Many are the torments of the wicked, but steadfast love surrounds those who trust in the Lord. Be glad in the Lord and rejoice, O righteous, and shout for joy, all you upright in heart. It is especially that last stanza that helps me understand how much temptation is part of my life. Now, it is too simple, a little bit too simple, to just simply equate temptation with the torments of the wicked. But it does seem as if temptation is around us all the time, tormenting us endlessly. And I think whether it's the beginning of the story of humankind with Adam and Eve and the fruit of the tree and the serpent, or whether it is the beginning of the ministry of Jesus and he's being put out there, be put face to face with Satan and every bad temptation that he represents, Scripture is clear to point out that this business of temptation is serious. That it's not just something you can say, well, I just won't do that. Right? I mean, you saw our kids in the aisle, right? It's like, oh, they can't even stop themselves. Right? It just happened. We're that way. It's our human nature. This temptation business is serious in our lives. And if we're left to our own small human devices to try to determine what is a good temptation and what is a bad one, or how much of a good one we can handle without it becoming overwhelming, or how much of a bad one we can get away with before it becomes something worse. If we're left to our own small human abilities without the help and support of others around us, well, we're going to fail. I know when I'm left alone to face those things that Jesus was faced with, when I don't take time to surround myself with good and trusted friends, family, so I can reflect on challenges in my life. I know if I don't surround myself with Scripture and prayers and promise, the gospel of Christ that reminds me, proclaims to me that God has me and loves me no matter what. I know if I'm left on my own and I'm faced with those things that Jesus was faced with, I'm going to choose them every day. I mean, I struggle with a 99-cent French fry. All right? Angels waiting on me in command and power over all the kingdoms of the world. Oh, I'm in trouble. Full knowledge of good and evil. I'm going to take the apple. We all are. We all will. But it is that second half of that final stanza from Psalm 32 that I think lifts up some words that makes it possible for us to navigate through those temptations and the reality of their power in our lives. Steadfast love, the psalmist said, steadfast love surrounds those who trust in the Lord. That is the message that Christ gives us through the gospel. That even though we face temptations every day, just as he did on his first days of ministry, that it is the love of God that surrounds us even in our failings and in our missteps and in our second helping of French fries. The song of deliverance is the grace and love of Christ. And that is what makes it possible for us to pray, Lord, lead me not into temptation, but deliver me from evil. Because we cannot pray that on our own. It's not knowledge that we have about something. It's not a strong enough willpower. It's not a promise to ourselves, oh, tomorrow will be different. It is not even forcefully separating ourselves from that which tempts us. No, it is the love and grace of Christ and being surrounded by others and encouraged by others and us walking in encouragement with them, with one another, that makes it possible for us to navigate through these things, because it is the promise of steadfast love. And as that last line of that psalm says, makes it possible for us to live in the reality, to be glad in the Lord and to rejoice, O righteous, to shout out for joy for all you upright in heart. My friends, we sit in the midst of temptation every day. So did Christ. And he sits in it with us. He doesn't condemn us to eternity of condemnation if we pick up the dollar bill and don't give it back. But because of his love and his steadfast love for us, that even when we fail, we can still rejoice and be encouraged and empowered to balance those temptations in our lives and to live with one another in peace. And it's in that reality that we find the peace in all that torments us. Thanks be to God.